Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world. Anyway, we are going to have a great show for you today. We have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start with a star. I am going to start with a star after perusing Jacobin and and one article that really sort of ticked me off on Tyler Perry. But before we get started, I want to say buenos dias a mis amigos, a mis genios. Good morning to the geniuses in the studio, in the control room at KPFT 90.1 FM. How are
Well,
my favorite people doing?
Gordon talk.
How are you doing, genius?
Well, I'm saying hello to everyone in Berlin today.
Right.
So, I mean, he greets the world, and I just kind of localize it.
You know, my family was right from just southeast from Berlin
Okay,
area.
good deal. Well, looks like the tin cans and string are holding up, Jack. So, what you got for us today?
Well, I read your little piece on the evangelicals, so I'm going to go off on that.
Oh Lord,
Egberto.
Go for
You
me,
hate
brother. Go
religion.
for me. You got the
He hates
newsletter, I
religion.
see.
They're using biblical prophecy to lead the Christians right where they want them to go, to the lion pit. Why do evangelicals flock to the Antichrist Trump? I mean, that's his persona he projects in public. I believe the evangelical Christians are being misled for a purpose. One, to vote for Trump because the Antichrist must be in power for the Christ being to return. They may believe putting this vile man in power will complete a prophecy. The only thing Trump will deliver is authoritarian corporate rule. The people will be sold out to the corporate fascists, and their Christ will be a corporate Christ.
They already are.
Yeah.
It's just not so widespread, but yeah, it's already here.
Yeah, the wool's been pulled over our eyes.
You know,
Let's
honestly,
pull it
Jack,
off.
I can't understand, and Egberto too. I'm going to take a moment here. I don't understand the draw of Donald Trump because the man did nothing when he was in office but enrich himself and friends. Very rarely were you going to find any policy that was any good. I don't understand why people want him back in office. Yeah, they're mad at Biden. Okay, fine. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. Didn't do a whole lot. Did a lot of good things.
What did Trump do?
He didn't do anything except stomp around like a bull and, spread his garbage everywhere. But he didn't really do anything. But I guess I understand a little bit about the appeal because he is a strong leader, and we need a strong leader in all times. But the problem is where he's leading. Yeah, he's a strong leader, all right, but he's leading us down the garden path, and that's going to be pretty dangerous for democracy. Fortunately, the man is 77 or 78 years old, and he was not going to last much longer. That's the good part. The bad part is he's still alive. And I'm going to turn this back over to Egberto because it is his show.
Well, it is our show, first of all, but I am there listening because, like I said, what happens a lot of times is that initial banter sort of gives me some, hey, you know what? Let me expand on that. And what you just said, Howard, nails it. He's a strong leader, but he's a paper tiger. A something made of ice is very hard. You can hurt yourself very easily with ice, but also
Yes.
it's brittle and it's easily broken. In other words, it doesn't have that structure that gives it permanence, right? So that's what Trump is. I mean, it has a semblance of strength, but when tested, it cannot hold up to the forces. And that's who he is. And the reason he's successful and why people like him, or the few that like him, and it's not a majority, but the way our country is structured, the amount of people that like him or want him is enough for him to win, because you don't need a popular vote win here. You just need to win in the right places. And even though Biden won by 7 million plus votes. Trump came within 40,000 votes of winning that election. Had he won in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, he would have been president of the United States, having been down over 7 million votes. That's not a democracy, but that is who we are. And I tell you something else. Um, when it comes to what he did, the problem is in the way we do media, we don't have a problem, or rather, Donald Trump has no problem simply out there, ball face line, calling false statistics out, and having a media that doesn't break it immediately. He says this, that is wrong, here's the data. So you say that long enough, it metastasizes into people's minds into believing under Trump, the economy was better for the average American citizen. Look, I can tell you a lot of places where under Trump the economy was better, not for the average American citizen, but for the wealthy people that got a whole lot out from Trump, starting with $2 trillion in tax breaks. That means we have a $2 trillion bigger budget deficit. That didn't go to the average American citizen, but they don't know that because Trump did all kinds of magic. Make sure that the withdrawals that you have, every time you sign your W-4 form, you say how much deductions you're going to take. Well, the way they made it is that you got back more money from the deductions that you would otherwise have taken. Your salary looks bigger at the end of the year. Your tax return, for those who do it that way, the tax return you get is that much less. I mean, there are so many things that could be said that sadly we have a media that, one, is timid in the way it goes after specifically Trump, and in general folks on the right, they just don't probe them as they should. But if Biden stumbles, or Biden or any Democrat does anything, it's a big story. Look, we have a story, Moms Against something. I don't remember the name of the organization. They are the ones that are banning books and making sure that LGBTQ stuff isn't taught in school or mentioned in school, etc. Well, the woman who runs it, she, her husband, and a third party were in. And by the way, what you do in your bedroom is your business. I really don't care. It's none of my business. But anyway, these Puritans, these people that believe they want everybody to live by certain rules. It turns out now the chairman of the Republican Party in Florida, whose wife runs Moms Against or whatever, Mom something, he is accused now of raping the woman that usually forms their three-person sexcapade. Okay? In other words, this woman, his wife, and him, they sleep together. Okay? And now, at this particular time, she says, he calls her up and said, hey, this time my wife isn't going to be there. And she said, well, it's off because it's your wife that I prefer anyway. And he goes over to her house and allegedly rapes her. It's now in the courts. DeSantis and all of them are asking him to resign as chair. And he says he's not going to do it. He's playing the Trump card. Now, the hypocrisy of these folks, we don't care what they do in their bedroom, but evidently his wife is at least a part of the LGBTQ community, even if in hiding, and they are so much on the attack. So, Howard, Jack,
yes, sir.
It is just that these people aren't exposed. How many people? I mean, MSNBC have been hearing this story, right? But a lot of other stations just kind of touching it. But if Biden does something or another Democrat does something, it's on air 24/7. This particular incident, yeah, it's covered, but it isn't covered near with the gravity that it really should be covered with. Just one of those things. Yes.
I think that the mainstream press, which we are not part of, really is more easily manipulated than you think. It's sensationalism. Does it sell detergent? Does it sell soap? Does it sell braces? Does it sell toothpaste? Is it going to get the attention of folks long enough to where we can grab them and say, okay, here's an exciting, scintillating story coming up here. But first, how about buying some Tide or maybe a Ford?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes,
this is exactly what we see every day. And it's disgusting because they can be so easily manipulated. And Trump is the great manipulator.
yes.
He is manipulating the media because he's got these scintillating stories. Oh, everybody wants going to know what Donald Trump wants to do and this, that, and the other. But first, here's a Chevrolet for you, the brand new Chevrolet. I mean, for crying out loud, what has it come to? It's insane.
R-
Also, my 2 cents says that um, Goebbels, the
The guy
propaganda
from the
minister,
Nazis, yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, he would be proud. He would be
Yes,
happy because he said, and it's also in Mein Kampf too, tell a lie so big and audacious that everyone would go, who is this guy telling this huge lie? But keep repeating it, and people will start to believe it because
exactly.
that's the principle that's going on right now in this country. Keep telling those lies, big lies. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the day.
Thank you very much, my brother. Anyway, welcome aboard Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard John Cotter. John, please tell me, I bet you're in Japan. And by the way, that's the reason I always say welcome to the world as well, because we have dedicated listeners in Barcelona, Spain. Brother Cotter is always flying around, and I think he may be in. My gut feeling is that he's going to tell me, Egberto, I am in Japan, but we'll see where he's at right now. Anyway, I want to read a part, and thank you, Cotter, for telling me it's Moms for Liberty. I want to read a little segment of this. This is not what we're going to talk about today, but I just want to mention it. Eric Hayes, welcome aboard as well. Here's what it says. Christian Ziegler, the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, is under investigation by Sarasota Police Department related to an allegation of sexual battery from October. An attorney for Ziegler, Derek Bird, said in a statement that his client has been fully cooperative with every request. And we'll skip down and it says, we are confident once the police investigation is concluded that no charges will be filed against Ziegler. So they said, okay. The report Bird references from a local Florida watchdog website that first outlined investigation along with alleged details about Ziegler's sexual relationship and the alleged assault. CNN has not independently verified those allegations. However, CNN on Thursday morning obtained a police report, a heavily redacted 12-page document in which raped, sexual assault, and sexual battery were among the handful of words that were visible. The report was provided by CNN by Sarasota Police Department in response to a request for the complaints. The alleged victim told police on October 4th that the reported incident took place 2 days earlier in her home in Sarasota. However, details of the alleged assault were redacted, no names including Ziegler. Sarasota Police Department spokesman Cynthia McCaughlin told CNN no charges have been filed but could not provide further detail. Ziegler did not respond. He and his wife Bridget are Florida Republicans' political stalwarts. The couple rose from their base of power in Sarasota County into significant statewide figures under Florida. Christian Ziegler, 40, became chairman of the Florida GOP in February after years of working in local politics, including as a county commissioner and as a state party vice chairman. Bridget, 41, was appointed to Sarasota County Board in 2014 and has won re-election 3 times. As Bridget Ziegler has been on the forefront of cultural battles DeSantis has waged within Florida public schools. She co-founded Moms for Liberty, which Cotter corrected me on, and he's in Houston today, a conservative parents' rights organization that has led the efforts in Florida and elsewhere to remove books from the classroom they deem inappropriate for kids. DeSantis named her to the board that now oversees the Walt Disney Company's special taxing district in Central Florida amid his cash clash with entertainment giant over the state law that restricted how sexual orientation and gender identity could be taught in the classroom. The emerging scandal immediately sent shock waves through the Republican Party of Florida, which was already dealing with deepening divisions from the hotly contested GOP presidential primary. Amid the investigation, Ziegler has continued to operate as party chairman. So they're all following the principle that Trump has laid out, which is no matter what you're accused of, no matter what, you will sit back and wait. Harry, before I come to you, I want to get started on the Tyler Perry story. Well, I tell you what. Uh, yeah, I want to get started on the Tyler Perry story because I may want your input in this as well. So hang tight. Um, Look, I have been I cover a whole lot of stories and of, sometimes I cover things on celebrities, etc. And celebrities constantly, as a part of their portfolios, they do things that sometimes makes one wonder. But I've had sort of a sort of, a sort of I want to say angst towards Tyler Perry because, in my humble opinion, a lot of how he built his fortune, and I want folks to take this in the right way, but a lot of the way he built his fortune, in my opinion, was ridiculing African Americans. And notice I didn't say ridiculing black folks. I said ridiculing African Americans because what he many times I thought was doing was sort of ridiculing the culture. That's my opinion. So for the longest time, I remember going early on when he just started, and I think it was either DVDs or even before DVDs used to release. I think it was tapes. Not I don't remember if it was tapes or DVDs. But anyway, I remember going to the home of a friend here in Kingwood, and they had one of his tapes or DVDs. I don't remember which one it was, and they played it, and it was one of the plays that he did because he used to tape them live. And I looked around and I'm like, that. Why would somebody try to do that? I just sort of got upset at watching the tape, but it kind of caught on, just like certain things catch on, and he started to grow and grow and grow. But then the other problem I used to have with him is, if you take a look at, and my mother, here my mother, I think, yeah, my mother used to watch some of his programs, and I remember watching a couple of his movies and noticing sort of what happened to black professional men in his program, in his movies. It always seemed that he made them abusive, take advantage of women, etc., etc., and that kind of stuff really irked me. Look, all the black men, all the men that I hang around in general, do the right thing. So I don't know what stereotype he was doing out there, but I know he was in fact setting a stereotype. So that irked me. But that's personal. That may be my sensibilities. But what really got to me back in 2019 was when a good friend of mine, an activist reporter out of Atlanta, she called me up and she said, Egberto, you know, um, Tyler Perry got this big deal in Atlanta, and it's in a black neighborhood, and purportedly he got all these tax breaks. And the idea behind this tax break is to revitalize the area that he was in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what she did is we did a live show. I did a show on what I found out about him doing, about the breaks that he got, and then she went and did a live show with her iPhone, and we brought her in live to Politics Done Right as she went around the neighborhood, went around the gated studio, that was pretty much smack in the middle of this neighborhood, and protected against the people on the outside. And it just irked me that you had this company run by Tyler Perry's company, smack in a black neighborhood, giving $30 million in tax breaks, doesn't pay any taxes on the property that he got. It's the property now, a former base, and the neighborhood that it's in is pretty much a squalor. So I did that piece, and I linked that piece in my newsletter Actually, I did two pieces on it. One where she's outside of the studio, going around the neighborhood with the blight, with people on the streets, sleeping on the streets, etc., in that area. And then the other live we did from Atlanta, she did it from within the studio. She kind of finagled herself inside the studio, inside of the grounds of the studio, and she's out there, doing some shoots for me live on the show. Now, Jacobin, it's 2023. That was 2019. 2023, Jacobins writes an article because Perry has this puff piece out on, I think it's Amazon, where he goes and they talk about his story from poverty into success and lifting himself up from the bootstraps and all that kind of stuff. My wife saw the program and she came and she was all, wow, that story about Tyler Perry and all of that was great. And here comes the Grinch, Egberto. It's like, well, I'm not particularly a fan of Perry because, again, of how I thought he came, how this stuff was built, etc., etc., etc. And then I see this article titled, Tyler Perry's wealth is not trickling down to black residents of Atlanta. And that all automatically tickled me. Said, let me read it. So I want to read sections of this for you. Filmmaker and entrepreneur Tyler Perry is a billionaire. His Atlanta studio received massive tax write-off premise on the idea that his success will inspire others. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's a liberal version of trickle-down economics. And it says, the new Amazon Prime film Maxime's Baby documents the rise of Tyler Perry, who was born into poverty and hardship in New Orleans and overcame racism and long odds to become one of the highest paid entertainers in the world, a billionaire no less. While the film tries to affect the tone of a serious examination, it's ultimately a glossy 2-hour commercial for the filmmaker and entrepreneur, a chance for Oprah Winfrey and Whoopi Goldberg to hype him as among the pantheons of today's greatest cinematic innovators. Is Tyler Perry running for office? Ask RogerEbert.com. Maybe not, but it's a fair question. The ethos that structures the film's feel-good arc has been the beating heart of the Democratic Party's vision of social justice since the Obama years. By now, most liberals wince at the mention of Reagan-branded trickle-down economics. Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama all use the term in a derogatory manner. The irony is that these liberals, in addition to a weak commitment to hiking taxes on the rich, have their own version of the theory. Their thinking goes that when members of marginalized groups make it to the top of the economic and cultural ladder, their ascent is an automatic gain for remaining members of that group. But Tyler Perry's fame and wealth have not trickled down to working class and poor black people in his home city of Atlanta. Perry celebrated the 2019 opening of his production studio on a defunct Fort McPherson Army base with sound stages named for wealthy black celebrities, including Winfrey, Goldberg, as life-changing act of social justice of surrounding community. When I built my studio, I built it in a neighborhood that's one of the poorest black neighborhoods in Atlanta so that young black kids can see a black man did that and they can do that too. I was trying to help them cross, Perry proclaimed during the BET Awards speech. That kind of talking never turns me on. I want to be an example to other black people so they can see what I do. You don't need to be an example tacitly, overtly. You are an example by your works, by what you do. And people see you and inherently they look at you and they say, I can be, I can achieve. That is what Obama was when Obama became president. Black people saw that it was una meta. It was a goal that it's okay to strive for because there is somebody who actually did it. But I digressed. Back to the article. In fact, it's been the other way around. Almost all of Atlanta's residents have subsidized Tyler Perry's personal wealth. which reportedly topped $1 billion this year in some way or another. In 2015, Perry acquired the Fort McPherson land for the significantly discounted market price of $30 million, though it had been appraised for as much as $75 million. Let me break right there from the article and explain something. If Tyler Perry bought a market valued property that's worth $75 million and he got it for $30 million, that is you people of Atlanta, you immediately increase Tyler Perry's worth, his wealth, by $45 million. Because listen to this, had Atlanta, instead of giving that property to Tyler Perry for $30 million, had they sold it to some other company for $75 million, that would have been an extra $45 million in the coffers of Atlanta. If they had sold it at the market value, an extra $45 million would have been there. But it gets worse. Some local Democrats called it a sweetheart deal between Perry and his friend Kasim Reed, then the mayor of Atlanta. Critics said it seemed designed to help the moguls' pocketbook rather than the poor black neighborhood around it. It felt like a trick. A dirty, dirty trick, said one local resident after the deal was announced. Forbes now estimates that Tyler's studio is worth $280 million, but because of a tax deal made with local officials, he's had to pay zero property taxes on it from 2015 to 2022. You see, all those poor people that live around that base that is surrounded by a fence that is now Tyler Studios, they all are paying property taxes. Likely their property taxes would have been increased because the value of their property have increased given that Tyler Perry built his studio there. People, that's money. And by the way, I'm on to Tyler Perry on this, but this occurs with all billionaires and rich people, irrespective of who they are. I just happen to be talking about Tyler Perry, who I think should understand better. I mean, buy the thing at $75 million so the people can profit from that. But no, that was his profit. That's money would otherwise largely go to Atlanta public schools, whose student body is disproportionately poor and black. In 2023, the Fulton County assessor calculated the studio's value at $74 million. So even the appraised value of the studio, $74 million, is nowhere close to the market value of $280 million. You want to know why rich people continues to get rich faster than poor people are able to build your worth? These deals are what I'm talking about. About a quarter of Forbes' estimate, which means taxes are less than $1 million that he has to pay whenever he starts to pay taxes. Additionally, Perry has taken advantage of the 30% state tax credit given the film production in Georgia. The share of tax money used to subsidize Hollywood productions cost Georgia voters an average of $330 per household last year. Perry earned plenty of glowing national headlines earlier this year for his philanthropy in donating $750,000 to help low-income seniors in Atlanta as property taxes increase. So everybody say, oh, what a nice guy. He gave $750,000 to help poor people pay their taxes. But he took $45 million in excess from what he paid and didn't pay for that land for the studio, and he paid zero taxes between 2015 and 2022. Still, there was no mention of the layers upon layers of tax breaks he got in the first place. Meanwhile, Atlanta now has the worst income inequality in the nation, with the median household income for a black family at $28,000 compared to $83,000 in the same city for white families. Some of the neighborhoods and west suburbs surrounding Tyler Perry Studios remain among the most poverty-stricken. Hey, I did the report in 2019. Nothing has changed. He got the property now. He has the property now, I think, almost 10 years. How has the neighborhood changed? The only thing I think can be accounted for is a lot of the board. By the way, the Atlanta activist reporter that I work with, she's also a goodwill, a real estate agent, but she's one of the good ones out there that tries to make deals and put people into homes. She showed what's happening to the home values, that people are having to move out because Tyler Perry has moved in, and the property value around his studio has increased. Don't think it's not going to be gentrified, because we spoke about that as well. We spoke about that as well. Okay, so continue. Some of the neighborhoods in south in and southwestern suburbs surrounding Tyler Perry's studio remain among the poorest, poverty-stricken. Not that you'll hear anything about that in the documentary they just made about him. But perhaps, goes the thinking, these struggling residents will one day see the Amazon Prime film, or peer through the gates and stare up at the 35,000 square foot, $100 million mega mansion Perry is building nearby, and be inspired to lift themselves out of poverty. If that sounds familiar, it's because Maxine Vavy is a liberal twist on a familiar trope. One man's journey to the heights of fame and fortune will trickle down and become everyone else's success. Folks, capitalism doesn't know color. Capitalism doesn't have a heart. Capitalism doesn't care as long as it builds on capital. It builds one's capital. That's what it's all about. And when you see Jay-Z, who is worth billions on the backs of many, and his cousin asks him for $5,000 for a venture, and he goes out and he makes a big issue with it on national radio and says something to the effect, he thinks it's just easy to for 5,000, and this is for $5,000. He has ripped millions of dollars off of rap artists that he works with, allegedly. Okay, but he 5,000. It is just amazing what capitalism does to one's heart, what capitalism does to one's soul. Harry, come on in, my brother.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias, hermanos.
Guten talk to Howard Reynolds and Zach Van Dever. I took some German when I was in college, so I understand some of that stuff. But as far as Tyler Perry is concerned, he needs to increase those donations, which they're talking about, to help the poor blacks in the poor-stricken areas of Atlanta pay their property tax. That's one good thing he could do by setting an example for black people. And then the other thing he could do is employ black people that don't have much. That's giving back to black folks. So that's what he ought to do. But I was going to talk about Donald Trump and Joe Biden a bit, because you guys were talking about that at the top. Now, what people have to keep in mind is those Christian nationalists who are being duped by Donald Trump. And then I read something and hear something last week that Donald Trump is talking to the young people that are upset that they didn't get their student loan debt relief. Well, young people, you got to remember, Joe Biden did try to get that started off, but the conservative Supreme Court struck it down. And then they're screaming about inflation not coming down enough. Well, young people also have to remember, you can also thank Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin so that Joe Biden couldn't get his bigger package of Build Back Better pass. So they have to remember that. Did you? I was going to put this to all three of you guys. I'm sure you know about Sean Penn, the great actor, and the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right?
Of course, yeah.
Now, Sean Penn, Forrest Whitaker, who was also in that movie. Let's see. His younger brother, Sean Penn, borrowed the car and crashed the car and said, "I can fix it." And that's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is always talking about, "I can fix it for you, young people." Well, don't listen to "I can fix it." Remember, go back and look at that Mitt Romney speech that I've talked about on this show and talked about on UTalk as well, about that Donald Trump is a con man. and talking about and the things that Mitt Romney says about him when he's talking about his promises are as phony as a $7 bill. And here's what I know: he's a fake and a fraud. It takes one to know one. So
Okay, Harry, I
people,
agree with Harry. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I want to touch on something that you mentioned about student loans and other things that Biden was unsuccessful in getting through. Biden was unsuccessful in getting through these issues. That where Biden, I think, failed is making America knows that is right-wing Republican policy and wait, let me back up. It is right-wing Republican policy and centrist Democratic policy that have prevented these policies that forgive student loans. And why do I want student loans forgiven? Because they were given to students on false premises. We'll discuss that another day. But and many
exactly.
other things that the Biden administration, they can't full-throatedly come out against it because too many damn centrist Democrats think just like these conservative Republicans when it comes to policy. When you take a look at, and I was going to bring up a whole lot of our rich billionaires. We have KPFT here, right? We tell the truth, and we are for progressive values that help people. I want you to name me one billionaire that says I am going to donate to the Pacifica Network or the KPFT because the possibility of having a Donald Trump is so evil. I am going to use my fortune to make sure it doesn't occur. You don't see. You don't hear Bon Jovi. You don't hear Tyler Perry. You don't hear Oprah Winfrey. You don't hear any of these people. You don't hear Beyonce coming out and saying, "I am going to start throwing a few pennies to these progressive organizations because of what these evil guys are doing." They don't. Hey, Harry, my lines are filled up, so I'm going to have to let you
And
go,
they
my brother.
and they should. And they should.
They
I want to
could.
say one other thing.
Real quick, Harry, real quick.
Thank you, Howard Reynolds, for playing some more Peter White today with Dreamwalk and playing Mr. Tao.
All right, thank you. But Harry, gotta get you. Gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go. Thank you. Let's go to Gary. Come on in, Gary.
Hey, Egberto, thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. There's nothing really specific. I'm a first-time caller into your show. I have spoken on a couple of occasions on Steve Hunter's show, and then my message has basically been the same. And I bring this out. I listen to you sometimes. I don't agree with everything that you have to say because I see where I think there's a real error in putting our trust into a system or an institution or something that is inherently foul in its very core. And I'll explain. Let me just one moment. Bear with me. So, and to say that there's really not an American institution. I do not care if it's performance-enhancing drugs in baseball. I do not care if it's mudslinging in our politics. I don't care if it's
please, Gary, love you, brother. Gary, I love you, brother, but make your point. Make your point.
This doesn't help me to get to the point. This doesn't help. So
that's why you have to make your wait. Hold on, Gary. Stop, Gary, please. Gary, please stop. I don't interrupt people in general, right? But when you go on and on, I really need you to say your point, please.
Okay, our institutions are fouled at their very core. And we come on here and we'd like for democracy to fix these fouled institutions. At the very heart of all of these institutions are corrupt individuals. And we think that we'll vote somebody else in or we'll do something else. It will correct all of these things. And we're surprised when it's still foul. If my people will seek me, if my people who are called by my name will seek me in truth and integrity, then I will heal their land. I will heal their land and their institutions. I'm not going to turn this into a program that you're not fair. Those that know those words will understand what I'm saying. at the very core, we are trying to make a nice garment out of material that is ripped and torn and moldy. We don't have integrity in our institutions, and our heart is foul. And the only way we're going to straighten that out is to come back to something that is greater than ourselves. Men cannot fix what's going on in this country.
Okay, let me just qualify. Okay, I get your point. Let me qualify something where I would like to disagree with you profoundly. I know enough good people running great organizations that help people, and these are men and women. The problem is we elect the wrong men and women. And by the way, everything on earth can only be fixed and solved by men and women. You can put all the niceties that you want, but if you go, like we spoke about the evangelical all along, they have used your good book and caused a lot of harm to a whole lot of people. So what we need is good people of whatever faith, whether they are Christians, Muslims, Jewish, Buddhists, I don't care what they are. If they're good people, they will do right. And I know a lot of all of those people of all those religions doing right, including in the political sphere. The problem is we have to put more of those in service, my dear brother Gary. Say you got 30 seconds more, sir. Go ahead.
100% to what you just said. There are good people running good institutions in all walks of life. Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, brother. We'll talk another time, Gary. Hey, Gary, I got to go. My lines are filled, Gary. Gary, my lines are filled. I got to go. Let's go to, I think, Josie.
Good morning.
Good morning, Josie. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to clarify something after yesterday's call. I didn't mean that the family of that young man was going after money.
Oh, no. By the way, Josie, I remember that call because at first it had hit me and then I said, no. That is not what she meant. No, I got it. I got exactly where you're coming from. You're talking about it. I think if I recall correctly, you were saying this is just so normalized that this happens. We go through this. They pay a certain amount of money and then it's like wash, rinse, and repeat. And I think if what I got from you is that you want that wash, rinse, and repeat cycle to end. That's what I got out of what you said.
Yes. And what I wanted to say also is I felt like the lady that had called was trying to shame the family or insinuate that that's what the family, although she said no, but just when you protest too much,
I got you.
Because like you said, no amount of money is going to replace our children.
No.
Nobody wants $1 million and lose their child. It's ridiculous.
No. Thank you, Josie. Believe me, my first thoughts are always to try to say, I know, folks. I got what you mean. Thank you, Josie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day. All right, let's go to Emmanuel. Come on in, Emmanuel.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Listen, I agree with everything you just said. Everything. When you were speaking to Gary, I believe that is his name. Look, we have to go to the poll and say that we elect the right people to make the changes that this country needs. One thing I admire, and you brought it up, I believe, last week, how the Panamanian people shut down avenues against that company that was doing the wrong thing in Panama. That's what we have to do here in the United States. Until we come together and make an effort to provoke the changes that is necessary, we're going to keep going around in circles. There are good people, like how you said, that are doing great work, like yourself and many others, and I know them too personally, that are doing great work here, work that touch the heart.
Right.
But without we putting the right people in a position to help make the changes, to bring a better fruit, we're going to continue going in circles, brother.
Emmanuel, Emmanuel, I appreciate you saying that. And let me tell you better. I want Americans to read the story about Panama and the copper mine, because it is a story that we need to emulate here. We talk about third world Panama being a third world country half the time run by dictators, but what the people did and stood up as a country, from David to Veraguas to Chorrera to Penonomé to all these places, they stood up. Our indigenous people stood up. Everybody stood up. The Colonenses and Donoso stood up. And they said, we won't have you destroying our environment like this. And they pretty much, the Supreme Court had to listen, and they shot it down. Now, by the way, the copper mine company in Canada, they want to take Panama to world court. In other words, the business must win. But I want Americans that are listening to me right now, read the Panama story about how they got rid, or they're getting rid of the copper mine. Because it says that the people, when they really get together, it's really a democracy that wins. Emmanuel, muchas gracias por hablar de eso. Thank you for reminding me that I wanted to mention this today on the program as well, sir. Thank you.
Just let me say this, and I'll get off the line.
Yeah.
Peter, what you're doing is priceless. And there are many other radio stations or people like yourself that is priceless what they're doing. Because when people receive the truth, la verdad, people become more aware of what's happening. So if your program change one person's mind, you have done a great deal of service, brother.
And let me just say, it's not we have done a great services. You, by calling in and mentioning what you've spoken about, Howard and Jack being there to ensure that we can get this out. It's one. If we can keep thinking, we will move forward. Thank you, Emmanuel. Let's go to Israel.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
One I really enjoyed when you said it's time for people. It doesn't matter what they believe in. I was a part of this organization, and one of the things that we had in Miami was the National Voters League, in which we could produce a block vote for the moral candidate. He was vetted, or they were vetted, and we promoted to all the people. It didn't matter what they looked like or what their nationality was. And as a matter of fact, the leader of our organization won an award for being a proponent for the National Voters League. So it's just time for all the moral people of the planet to stand up. It's more, they have propagandized us so much to make us believe that there are more wicked people on the earth than there are right people.
Oh, Israel, thank you for saying that, because we thank you for saying that.
There are people all over the planet. It's just time for us to stand up and run them to another planet.
Brother,
that's what it's time to do.
Israel.
It's time to do that. Yes.
Let me tell you. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for putting that onto the minds of everybody. I'm gonna tell you something. I rarely.
I can't take credit for that. I can take credit for my master teacher for that.
Well, credit due. Okay, credit. Israel, credit due. Credit due. I think we have an overtalk here. I think we have a delay, but let me just say this. Credit to you for bringing us what the professor had to say. But let me just tell you, we have to remind Americans of that reality. Most people are good. I rarely run across somebody that's wicked. Even the Trump supporter, I find out, are good people. I mean, I know I take a lot of flack from my progressives when I say that, but I really believe that from the depths of my heart. By the way, folks, I want you to go look up a poorest place in America. It talks about Appalachia. Great story on YouTube. But anyway, Israel, I got to go because I got a lot of other callers. So thank you so kindly.
I had two things.
Let's go ahead and go to. Sorry for dropping you quickly, brother, but let's go to brother Derek.
Hey, good morning. Roberto, on that Tyler Perry thing.
Yes, sir.
Brother, everybody is definitely, there's always going to be some form of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
But I want us to remind us about something. As Black people, and this is the truth, we have a tendency to spew out a lot of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice something, when Bill Cosby started saying that he wanted to buy NBC, ABC, and CBS, that's when a lot of his problems began. Then you had Sean Puffy Combs, who got in front of this whole big Earn Your Leisure group, and he started talking about buying and purchasing media. Then now his problems began. See, the thing with Tyler Perry and a lot of those billionaires, they're taking advantage of the system just like any other white and whatever you want to call them, type people. But we got to keep in mind too, people like that, they have submersive groups that you don't know nothing about, and they are making some moves financially, but they don't need to be out there broadcasting it. What you're saying is definitely true, but I do know of one group that does that, and I'm not gonna say it out loud, but they go around with this little convention, but that's to draw in the people who really wants to do something. Keep that in mind. That's all I want to drop.
No, well, Derek, I want to address that because when I discuss issues with, let's say, Black billionaires or Latino billionaires or ever, I am cognizant that people are judged in this country and, well, many other Western countries based on pigmentation, etc. And there's something that you said that is very important. That is when certain people are attempting to do certain things start to come out against them. And that's why I hold, let's say, a Tyler Perry to a higher standard with regards to abuse of the community of whence he's from. Not that, look, first of all, I'm not the person that believes in this racial thing, but we live in a racialized society, so we have to work within those confines. Okay? So that said, I don't want anybody taking advantage of anybody. And what happens, it is so much easier to take advantage of people of color based on our what we call people hate when we talk about it being we have that our structure is inherently racist. Nobody wants to hear that. But if you take a look at how the laws are written, etc., it's not hard to figure out that it's that way. Right? It's another show to talk about that. So I take your point. And by the way, thank you for not just coming out and saying, Egberto, shut up on XYZ, because I know whenever I speak about.
It definitely happens.
Yeah.
It happens, brother.
Right.
We live in America, and we all have a label on our back that says made in America.
Right. But as a host, my brother, I have to be honest and fair. And sometimes it cuts on all sides, right? So that's why I'm careful in the way I do things. Whoever I'm talking about, I try to be very careful in the way I do it to make sure that I'm not giving somebody an undue advantage, if you will. But thank you for kind of pointing that out in the way that you did, Derek.
Thank you. Bye.
You have a wonderful day. All right, let's go to Bart. Come on in, Bart.
Yes, sir. Good morning. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions. This Tyler Perry thing reminds me of the city of Houston right now.
I figured you were going to say that. Yeah.
They are wasting $87 million fix water leaks. It was on kprc.com. Amy Davis, did you see that report?
No, I didn't, but it's ridiculous. You're absolutely right, sir. Go ahead.
And we're the taxpayers. That's our money that's being wasted. And he's funneling money to their cousins and brothers, and the city is approving it. Now, my question to you is Sylvester Turner getting any of that laundered money kicked back to him? What do you think?
What do I think? I have no evidence of that, but would it surprise me? No. Would it surprise me that the person who's leading in the Whitmire will be even larger? Well, just read the Chronicle and you'll see why that would likely be the case. Now, does it surprise me that Emmett? And wait, let me finish. Does it surprise me that Emmett, with all the money the county has collected, never built the canal under I-10 to take our floodwaters out to the ship channel? No, it doesn't surprise me, even though it was something that was supposed to have been done. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't surprise me, sir. Go ahead.
Well, we're going to have to go to the county another day. Let's just stick on the city. And we got Sylvester Turner is trying to pass.
Go ahead and make your point. So you only got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Make your point.
This guy, we need to get the Texas Rangers investigating this guy. He's trying to suck all this money out on his way out the door this last month that he's in office. And
great. As long as we investigate every single head official, I would be with you. Thank you very much, Bart. Let's go to Brian.
Yeah.
Brian, you're on.
Yeah, you there?
Yes,
I'm
here.
there.
Yes.
Okay. Did you check into the Department of Justice Special Prosecutor Jack Smith and what he did to Trump? Did you check into that yet?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything to Trump that isn't done to every single person that's being investigated.
Did he say that he had a subpoena? That it was a blanket subpoena for 1 year?
Yeah. Yes, of course. And I think that's justified. Okay.
That's not
anything
justified.
All right, tell me, what else do you want to say?
How many people are on that subpoena? Do I have to read it again?
No, you don't have to read it again because that's a standard subpoena, sir. There's nothing special about. I mean, the right wing will have you believe and go into convulsion that there's something special about that subpoena. That's a standard subpoena. So, my brother, until you come with something new, please, I got to go and end the show right now. Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to. Give me your last word, Howard.
Well, Brian's like a dog with a bone, man. He ain't gonna stop. Jack, what you got?
Well, the thing with Tyler Perry, I think, is the objectification, sexual objectification, and the right means to rule, not govern.
Man, thank you very much, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My listeners, Jack, Howard, callers. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.